Restart. Hi, Questers. Welcome back to the channel. And I'm going to be reacting to Moontrap, the 1980s movie. 1989. I've never seen it. Never heard of it before. Winnie Grace mentioned it during my last live reaction to Krull. So yeah, I'm going to be doing that. But before I do, please hit that thumbs up, give us that like, because that really helps the algorithm, and tells YouTube to put my content out there to a wide audience. And at the same time, if you're not subscribed, please subscribe and select all the notification bells so you don't miss any upcoming content. And don't forget, the more you like, the more you comment, the more likely you are to receive a notification. At the same time, if you would like to support the channel, feel free to click the link below for Streamlabs. There is a Streamlabs tipping page where you can provide a tip and ask a question that I will answer during the next live broadcast. So, without further ado, please stand by for Moontrap, my first reaction. Okay, so I assume that this is going to be set July 20th, 1969. Is that the day of the moon landing? I think it is. That's the day of the moon landing, right? So, okay, whether you believe it happened or not. Well, we'll find out when someone else goes to the moon and has a look for their flag, right? Okay, so, would it be India? Interesting. So, yeah, let's get back into this and yeah, see what happens. So this is interesting. So it looks like they've got some screamers coming through the Martian surface. And look, let's have a look at this. Okay. Okay, so it's like a security thing. It's like a security thing, then, is it? They're being spied on. Okay. Okie dokie. Fair enough. Okay, so we had quite a bit of dialogue from Walter Koenig over the opening credits, and he seems to be monologuing in the space shuttle flight. So, yeah, okay. So it's almost like the opening for Star Trek, like they're trying to copy it or something. I suppose that makes sense. They probably would have done that on purpose because of Star Trek and the fact that it's Walter Koenig. So it's not a problem. So far, the visual effects are something I've expected from something from the late 80s, early 90s. The fact that there's the space shuttle in space, there's not a full amount of stars, though. There should be a lot more stars. That whole area, can you see my cursor? Yeah, this whole area here where they don't have the stars, and up here, they can't be blotted out. But I mean, if you look at our modern day, if you look at the images from the space ISS or whatever, you can probably see more stars, and they're in orbit, right? So they would see them. So yeah, I don't have much of a problem with this so far. Yeah, I haven't seen anything, which is interesting. Okay, so it's the first time we've actually seen anyone, and it is Walter Koenig. Hey, Chekhov, how's it going? How are you doing with those nuclear vessels? And yeah, so the commander, this guy in the second seat, is Bruce Campbell. He's playing, just get it up here just to make sure, Ray Tanner. And Walter Koenig is playing Colonel Jason Grant. Colonel Grant. With his nuclear weapons. A very detailed 3D graphic for the alien ship that is drifting in orbit. an elliptical orbit, which is why they never picked it up before. But the fact that they're using the same screen for the radar to bring this computer graphic up, which is supposed to be a true thing. It's like they didn't realize what level of technology we had at the time, right? This is supposed to have been set in the 90s at some point. So I'm guessing 1990 this is set. I don't think the space shuttles had that level of technology. I'm not complaining. It's interesting to see. But the wire model is just interesting that they can get that level of detail from what is initially a radar blip. I mean, does that mean that we can detect what shape the aircraft is that appears on radar screens? But anyway, there's no point saying anything about that. It's not important, right? So we're checking out a radar image, and look at the size of that. I mean, all they have to do is look out the windscreen, right? All they have to do is look out the window. Oh, it's right in front of them. I mean, seriously. But I thought this was supposed to happen on the moon. I thought that's why it was called Moontrap. Walter Koenig being Spock. Yeah, it's different. It's different to see Koenig's face in a spacesuit outside of Star Trek, right? I'm not even sure that they had those kind of kit. I don't think they had that kind of kit back then for NASA, did they? They didn't have that type of what do they call it? I don't know what they call it. Not the spacesuit. Obviously, the spacesuit doesn't look realistic. It looks good, but it's not what they look like. And although it is interesting to see that there isn't a light inside the helmet, shining on their face, so they can't see anything outside. But yeah, camera looks about right. But this thruster pack or whatever they want to call it doesn't look right for the time. It just doesn't look right for the time. But I could be wrong. I've never seen one that looked like that. Just saying. Looks like a bunch of looks like it's made up of a couple of shoe boxes on the side or something like that. I don't know. I mean, you look at that ship and you look at it and you think to yourself, now that's either debris impact from asteroids, comets, or whatever, or it's been on a bloody battle. I mean, look at all those scorch marks. They're everywhere. Look, that's a scorch mark. There's scorch marks everywhere. They're all scorch marks. It's not because it's old. It's space. If something gets old in space, I don't think it decays in this particular way. So something going on. I mean, it does look old, but it's meant to, right? But I don't see how anything in space would have this kind of aging, to be honest. I mean, I don't know. They might do. I don't know. I might look into it and see. But as we know from sci-fi, I prefer, if you're a regular to my channel, I prefer realism in sci-fi. I do like a lot of the fantasy side of sci-fi, but I prefer the realism in a lot of sci-fi. Like The Expanse had a lot of realism in it. The way the ships moved, the gravity generation was not generated. It was what was it, ventral gravity or something? I can't remember what it was called. It's gravity from motion rather than. But they had all aspects. They had spin gravity and stuff like that. So I'll have to look up the terminology. But yeah. So yeah, that's what I prefer. I prefer realism in science fiction. I mean, even Star Trek has some aspects of real life science, right? It's not all fiction. So he's doing his spaceman thing, and he comes up to a breach in the hull, and he sees this thing. He says, "It's the first thing I've seen that isn't burnt to hell." Blah 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 blah. But you can tell that's different technology. I mean, the texturing is different, the color is different. I can understand maybe the same alien race may have made both, but use different materials. Maybe that thing isn't made out of the same material for that reason. But I would say it's more likely suggests that it's multiple alien races. So I know this is supposed to have robots in it, and I'm wondering if this is that thing that we see pop out of the surface of the moon in the beginning of the 1969 part, maybe. So he grabs this thing, turns round, and this thing's floating behind him. It's a very human-like, bipedal, make out a face. If I didn't know any better, I'd say that was a human being. But I don't think a body would decay that much in space, would it? I'm gonna have to look up on what would happen to things in space because it's becoming a thing I've noticed. We come to some poor video footage of a space shuttle landing. I would say that that's a real footage from a space shuttle landing. That's what I'd say anyway. It looks like it might be real footage, but it might not be. I reckon it is though. It does look like it. And they brought the body back as well. Okay, that makes sense, I guess. So they figure out that he's 14,000 years old, mummified in space. Okay. It opened up. That's good. So it's opened up so we can see what's in it, and it's definitely some sort of android or robot of some sort. Let's see what it looks like when it's fully deployed, shall we? Yeah, that definitely looks like that thing we saw at the beginning. That was checking out the moon lander. It's got tentacles. It's got robot tentacles. Really interesting. To be honest, it looks quite good actually. So for somehow it was able to shatter the glass using some sort of sonic pulse and access non-wireless systems. Interesting. So the little robot thing managed to hack into the system and do some analysis, and find the origin point of the ship's launch position, which was the moon. I think they said Prometheus crater, which, okay, fine. So the ship was launched from Prometheus crater, or took off from there. So what was it doing there in the first place? Yeah, we'll see. It actually managed, somehow, it managed to hack in to a non-wireless network, so a wired network, because I don't think Wi-Fi existed at that point, and it managed to reconstruct the person, the dead guy, reconstruct the suit that he was wearing, and then trace it back to the origin point on board the ship from where he came from when the ship was damaged or whatever, and then tracked it to the moon, tracked the ship to the moon. Probable origin site, the moon. So it's an origin site. So how does that work? But there must be a base on the moon, because otherwise there's no point in this movie, right? So you're tell me, after doing all that stuff, hacking into a non-network, to a network system that is not Wi-Fi, it's just going to sit there and look at the ceiling. Okay. Okay, maybe not. It looks like it's going to build itself a body. Yeah. It looks like it's building itself a body. Yep. But here's the funny thing: you can't see any motors or hydraulics on that hand. So I suppose it could be done electromagnetically, possibly, but it can only use the material it has, right? Is she going to be the first victim of this robot? Maybe. Wow, that's a lot of damage. It must have taken a lot of parts. Yep, she's the first victim. Oh my god, is that his feet and his legs? Oh wow. Yeah. Well, look, you can see the worlds on the foot section. NASA has grunts with M16 rifles. And what happens to the good old fashioned NASA polo shirt for the security? Hmm? What happened to that? So they run past and they say, and they're asked what the hell's going on, and all they say is security breach, intruder in the basement. Wouldn't they have put a call out on the radio or something about the dead woman that was left in a lab? Seriously? I mean, they would have said, intruder in the basement, at least one person dead. I mean, that would be the call on the radio, right? There it is. It is big, and I don't know where it got all the parts to build itself from. Maybe it's a Borg, and it can create its own parts. I don't know what I'd be more concerned about: the fact that it sees him, like what Koenig's character says, or the fact that it can understand what he's saying. I don't know what would be the worst thing: the fact that it can see him, or the fact that it can understand English. Just saying. Just saying. I like that. There's a flash and it hurt and it scratches his arm, and all he does is turn around and say, "Get that son of a bitch!" Nice. And he was all about peace a second ago. So they open up on him, fire every round they've got from the shotguns and M16s. And what happens? It just looks at them and then starts firing a lightning beam out of its face. Nice. Nice. I bet they've got them shooting the body and not the head. The head is clearly where the power and the intelligence is coming from, because you can see the top of his head has that capsule thing that they found, right? I mean, honestly, look at that robot. It's a ridiculous looking robot. Although it is a basic design, I suppose it builds depending on its materials that it's got around him, I suppose. And these two guys think they can come up behind it. It's obviously got some sort of sensor system in its head compartment. You know, shoot in the head. I actually like the robot's head movements. When you can see when it's tracking a specific target, it sort of bobs its head around, pointing at the target. So I like the way it moves. But at the moment, it hasn't actually walked. It's just stood there and taken the brunt of everything and killed, I don't know how many people by now. Thing is, with all that smoke that's around them, I would have thought that would have set off the. I suppose it wouldn't have set off the sprinklers. I think the sprinklers are triggered by heat, aren't they? Because they've got that glass filament that shatters at a certain temperature to set them off, right? I really do like the movement of the head. I do. I really like the movement of the head. But yeah, I don't know. It's tracking movement because it just zeroed in on where Walter is. So yeah, in the vent, doing his Die Hard thing. So it knows that Walter is in the air vent. So knowing that the bullets and everything that they're shooting don't hurt it, why doesn't it zero in and just hit where Walter is in the vent? It doesn't make sense. I guess it's plot because they can't kill him because he's a major part of the film. He's a major character, right? And obviously it's Walter Koenig, isn't it? There you go. See, one shotgun blast, point blank, to the top of the head, and the entire robot just collapses and explodes. And there we go. The former tactical officer of the USS Enterprise. I think he was a tactical officer, wasn't he? Or operations and tactical officer. All I remember is that he was usually in charge of the weapons, right? A father and son moment. You know how we all love continuity in entertainment. Hey, the kid likes Godzilla. His dad just said, "Why don't you go and put a Godzilla movie on?" He likes Godzilla. Gojira. Joey's. I like that where he says, "You know what I've always wanted to do? This." He starts running down the hill or running down the slope, and he falls over. So he's always wanted to fall over on the moon. The first astronaut to fall over on the moon. There you go. Walter was the first astronaut to fall over on the moon. There it is. There's one of those things staring at him. I'm not sure if this is going to be the same type as the other one, the one that made the robot, but I'm pretty sure it'll be the same one from earlier, right? From the beginning. It does look different. I mean, it's a different color, but then saying that, it's not in its armor shell, is it? So we'll see. It certainly looks bigger. You know, the head of it makes me think of the War Machine from War of the Worlds. Kind of reminds me of that. I keep thinking it's going to go any moment. Goes. I wonder if it'll use parts of the lander to make a new body, to make a body for itself, I should say. It certainly looks like it. Hey, the first astronauts to get bogged in on the moon. Wouldn't have thought there would be enough gravity to get bogged in. They found the base. Was not only that must be the entrance of base, but there's also structures leading away from it. So that's interesting. I wonder what they're going to come up with to explain it. Well, that actually looks pretty damn tall. You got the same markings as the ship had earlier. Impressive looking model. Yeah. So they left the rover because the incline was too steep and it got stuck. So they saved the batteries to get away. For a quick getaway, they said. And now they're using the rover to get the rest of the way there. Continuity? Another human-like skull. Sorry, I paused it just as they transitioned away from it. But yeah, it was another. I just wanted to see if they would actually show it again, but it was another human skull. Anyway. Or human-like skull, I should say. Oh, look, some very, very fake-looking weapons. Some space guns. Honking big space guns. He just saw one of the pods. Again, I just paused it as it transitioned away. But let's see if it will show it again. Definitely big. It's definitely big. A human handprint. I wonder if that's obviously a door lock, isn't it? Going to put their hand on it and it's not open, even though they're wearing the gloves of the spacesuit. I'm going to assume that as they've opened this, they'll walk in, and I'm going to assume that it will pressurize and become a breathable atmosphere. That's just an assumption, because that would make sense in a way. I mean, it's obvious that what just happened is all the lights came on, and there was air flowing into the room because it started throwing all this dust up in the air. So, if I was them, I would assume that the air atmosphere will now be breathable. To be honest, I don't know. I doubt they'll have anything on them that will be able to tell them it's breathable oxygen or breathable atmosphere. But we'll see. I did it again every time. I just pressed pause as it transitioned away. But I'm just going to let's see if it shows it, because there's actually a woman in cryostasis by the looks of it. It's definitely a human woman. Yeah, she's waking up, and it opened and she's lifting her hand up. Stupid idiot! Let her get hold of his gun. Seriously, why do people always lose their guns? I mean, yeah, it's fine. They took guns to the moon because they know there was at least one hostile thing that has to do with it. But you could at least give them holsters to put the guns in, so they're not holding them in their hands where they can easily be snatched because of their gloves. And this thing is still interested in the lander. Was it not the same one that followed them in, or watched them go into the base? Well, it is upright, so I'm assuming it's a different one. So apparently they have a surprise package on the lander. What's the guessing that it's a nuke? And now that they arrive at the landing site and find that the lander is gone, but they did take a flag with them just in case, you know. So when they left, it's not like they haven't been there before and planted a flag before, is it? I mean, why do they need to bring that? Why do you need that detail? It's not necessary. You know, they haven't checked their oxygen tanks once. They haven't looked at the gauges once. Well, I think they found where the lander is. Well, that thing's definitely under construction, isn't it? I mean, look at the scaffolding. Do you think the robots did that? Maybe. It's hard to say. I mean, if I didn't know any better, I would have said that that looks like a honking big space gun, right? But I'd say that's more like a ship. It just looks like a gun. Yeah, it's got big engines on it or something. So it fires up, but just before it fires up, the ground starts shaking. Seismic activity on the moon as a result of a ship firing its engines. I suppose that would work. I suppose that's right. Cylon! No, sorry. Actually, I'll take that back. Yeah, it does look like a Cylon from the remake. Was it 2005 remake of Babylon 5? Is it 2005? I think it was 2005. See? Shoot it in the head. I mean, honestly, I was wondering if there was going to be another one. Oh, I like that quote. Come on, you son of a bitch. I say I do like the design of the robots, though. I do like the design. Very simple. Oops. So he was attacked. He's radio out that he's hurt. That Ray's hurt. Roy. Anyway, and we see a shot of the orbiter, and it gets struck by lightning. And a big explosion from the lander, the orbiter hitting the moon. I'm not sure it would explode like that. Maybe, maybe not. It's hard to say. I'm not a physicist. I'm not a rocket scientist or anything like that. But I wouldn't have thought it would explode like that. But, oh well. The Ray dies in pain. Yeah. So after his death, they carry on following the tracks. I'm not sure why, because if they keep following the tracks, they're just going to find a lander that they can't fly to Earth, right, without the orbiter. Nice. So he takes a box off the back of the rover pulls a handle out of it, and there's some sort of survival tent inflates. Yeah, I guess. Typical. They just met. They literally just met a few hours ago. Yeah, they just met. I mean, even in reality, it takes at least one drink, doesn't it? A robot attacked them and it had Ray's face. Wow, there's a couple of really big ones now. Interesting. Really big. And there's the ship. It didn't show it taking off. It just, there it is, halfway to Earth, right? Or maybe they were right at Earth. So they just stopped her from being killed by some weird looking machine that had kind of like a circular saw blade for one hand. And, it just started taking parts of her clothes off and then putting it in an incinerator or something. Weird. Well, at least they still got their spacesuits. That's a good thing. Look at all those body parts in the walls. That's all we are to them. Spare parts. Looks like they had a space shuttle ready to go for a rescue operation. Or maybe that's to intercept the unknown ship that's now approaching Earth. So, they are launching, right? So they've literally just lifted off. And there's nothing, the actors are not showing any evidence of the G forces that they would take from launching a rocket, right? And they're not even in any kind of survival suit. I mean, they would during launch, if I remember correctly, astronauts would still wear a different variation of their spacesuit, right? I believe it was the orange ones, and they'd still have the helmet. So looks like there's no gravity on that ship. So what was holding? What? How did the robot jump down, and how come they were walking around a minute ago? Wow, there's a lot of those pod things there. Look, a lot of pods. It's using the gun to propel them out of the spaceship after setting the nuke to explode in 5 minutes. But he figured that out with 1 minute left to go. And yes, they're flying away from the ship. Towards the space shuttle that just happens to be in their path. See? The space shuttle that just happens to be in their path. Okay, so the ship exploded by a nuke going off. They survived by the looks of it, and there's nothing left of the ship. Well, you wouldn't expect there to be, would you? Really? So Mira is learning English now. Dun, dun, dun. So it looks like parts of the ship did survive, and they fell to Earth, and this one just happened to fall in a scrapyard with loads of cars and stuff, so it can build itself a body. Well, I don't understand why they're cyborgs. Why did they need human body parts. I mean, it was like skeletons and faces and hands and stuff. I don't understand why, unless it was to create humanoid Cylons. Sorry, humanoid versions of themselves. So that was Moontrap. And actually, I'm actually pleasantly surprised. I actually quite enjoyed watching it, even though it may not have sounded that way, but I really did. I enjoyed watching it. I wouldn't say I would watch it again, but at the same time, I'm saying that it's not that bad. It's not terrible. It's kind of like what I'm used to from growing up in that time period of the 80s and 90s. So yeah, I enjoyed it. I really did. Thank you for suggesting it. Thank you for suggesting it, Wendy Grace. Appreciate you doing that. And this one's for you, buddy. As you can see, courtesy of Wendy Grace. So hopefully, if you enjoyed this video, hopefully, hopefully you'll agree with me. It's actually quite a good movie if you get a chance to see it, because I don't know where it would be available. I think it's available to buy on Amazon. Yeah, it's an interesting movie. I did like the look of the robots, and I hope they carry that through to the sequel. But because the sequel was 2017, was it? Is it 2017 the sequel to this? I think it is. I think it's 2017. Yeah, so it's far more recent, which means that it's not going to be as good, right? So, but maybe the visuals will be better, but it depends on what they do with it. So I'm thinking I might release a reaction to the second one, so the sequel, which is Moontrap Target Earth. I might release that on Monday, maybe Tuesday. We'll see. So a few days at least. I'll have this one hopefully uploaded on the 19th. So maybe if I watch it over the weekend, then I'll release the reaction to Target Earth on Monday the 22nd. So yeah, and if you like this video, please hit that thumbs up, because it really helps me with the algorithm, and it gets the algorithm to put me out there to a wider audience. And please, if you haven't already, please subscribe. That would be outstanding if you could do that. And at the same time, I do have Streamlabs in the link below in the description. So if you can please click on that, and if you would like to send us a tip and a message, I will happily respond to the message, and I will appreciate it greatly. But the least you can do, guys, is hit that thumbs up and hit that subscribe button, because it really gets us going, keeps me going. So yeah, and until next time, guys, stay safe, take care. I really enjoyed that movie, and may the Schwartz be with you always.